This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
As the next head coach of the Golden Knights, he embodies so many of the traits that we were looking for. Great record of success. Any way you want to measure performance of a team, his teams have been extremely successful. So I think a real opportunity for the Knights. I think that it makes our team better. It only adds to the excitement that we have heading into this coming season, and we look forward to working with Bruce and welcoming Bruce and Julie and his children to Las Vegas.
We'll open it up to questions. We will be passing a mic along because this is being streamed live, so if you can raise your hand, I'll get that around. So, yes.
Hi, Kelly, Bruce. Jesse Granger with The Athletic. Can you just take us through the search process, what it was like? Obviously, Bruce was not even available when you started the coaching search, so can you kind of just take us through what the last few weeks have been like?
Sure. First of all, your decisions, on our existing staff aren't made based on availability of coaches or lack of availability of coaches. You make those decisions based on how you feel about your own team. We didn't know at the time that this would happen with Bruce and that he would be available and become a candidate. We had, and I mentioned it last time, that we had the advantage of time on our side, that we would use that. We were thorough. We did not interview a long list of candidates. We were pretty specific about what we were looking for, what we felt the right coach for our team needed to be, and again, through that partway through that process, the decision was made in Boston, where Bruce was available and able to be contacted. We got permission from Boston, which is part of how that process works, and really it's 8 days or whatever it's been since this happened for Bruce, so a lot has gone on in a short period of time.
Ben Goetz, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Bruce, for you, what had the past week and a half been like for you from that decision in Boston to getting here today?
Yeah, I wanted to start by first thanking, Bill Foley, Kelly, George for putting their trust in me. I think it's a privilege and an honor to be a head coach in the National Hockey League, and so I'm very grateful for the opportunity here in Vegas. The last 8 days, obviously, when you get let go, it's disappointing. There's a lot of emotions that go into it. You kind of sort of lick your wounds and console your children, and then the phone started ringing for me. So again, I was very flattered, that people valued how I did my job, and in talking to Kelly during the process, almost on a daily basis, I just felt this was going to be a great fit for me. So that's how it kind of rolled through, and then there's a discussion with Julie, my wife, about, we've been an East Coast family for a long time. I'm from Canada, she's from New Jersey. How it affect the kids, and because I knew hockey-wise it was a no-brainer for me. It was going to be, how's it going to affect your family, and everyone's on board. So, and again, there's stuff that goes on in between there, but for me, that's how the process played out. Couldn't be more excited. Great group of players here that want to win. Been very close, and hopefully we can all sort of go hand in hand and get us over the top.
Willie Ramirez with the Associated Press. Bruce, obviously this team has taken the league by storm in the first 5 years. The owner made a comment, I think, before the first season, playoffs in 3, cup in 6. Why is Bruce Cassidy the right fit for this roster, and why is this roster the right fit for you?
Well, we're in year 6, right? So the pressure's on, which is great. Previous market was, an original 6, so lots of pressure. So that to me is a good thing. You want to be relevant, and you want expectations. So I think we're all aware they're out there, and we're here to fulfill them. What makes me a good fit? I think, in general, I've done a good job with certain areas of the game that are important in the National Hockey League. You got to value keeping the puck out of your net. Can't win if you're not good defensively. I think our teams have been very good in that, structured, but we're doing it to get the puck back. We want to get into attack mode, and I think we've been very good with that. Our special teams are so important in the National Hockey League. I think our numbers speak for themselves in that area. I think we're a goaltender-friendly style of play in terms of how we're structured defensively, and I do believe players will have the freedom and creativity to get going on offense and play to their strengths. And there's a lot of those players in this lineup, so I think that'll translate well. Having some high-end offensive defensemen that can push the pace, I think, in today's National Hockey League is so important the way the game's progressed. So that'll be a good fit because I believe in that. So everything aligned perfectly, I thought, with the roster. Until I walk in that room, I can't tell you everyone's personality. I'm going through the process now of meeting, trying to connect with every player, and we'll see how that plays out to find the chemistry, lines, deep airs, etc. But that's the kind of style of play that I believe I can bring, and I try to get our teams to play, and it looks like this group of players will want to play that way and excel in that style. So that's why I think it's a good fit.
Go ahead, Chris, to Danny.
Bruce Ed Graney, Review-Journal. You talked last week, I believe, or maybe a few days ago, about accountability,
Yep.
that they have to be accountable. You also talked about messaging, and it might change. Do you have to know who's on this team before you can worry about messaging?
Well, the accountability will be there. How you message it is always different from player to player, room to room. So yes, absolutely, to answer your question. And that to me will be a feeling out process. It'll happen quick. I think I'm pretty good at assessing how a player needs to be handled. I've always believed you have to earn your way in the National Hockey League. So as a younger guy, I don't like to let those habits and details slip, so they will hear more of the message. How you deliver that message, again, is everyone has a different coaching style. And again, I'll get to know the players and figure out what works best for them. But I do believe if your team's if you don't have accountability, I don't think you have much in the end. Personally, you need the players to play for the crest on the front, not the name on the back, and still allow them to be themselves. So that'll happen whether it's a young roster, old roster, in between roster, no matter where they are in their careers. But again, how you do that to players, I think, is very important as a coach. Some guys have earned a lot of rope. Other guys are in the process of earning that rope. So that's how it'll play out.
Chris.
Chris Chapman, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Last season, a lot was made about this team with maybe not having an identity. I know you kind of touched on it a little bit with the accountability, but what type of identity do you want this team to have?
We want to be hard to play against. By that, I mean team toughness, hard on pucks, value keeping the puck out of your net, value possessing the puck in the O-zone. Again, playing for the team first, sticking together, I think that's very important for any team. We want to be attack-oriented. We don't want to sit back. We're not going out there with hey, we're going to win a game 1-0 every night. I'm not. You have to be comfortable in close games, but we want to put teams on their heels. We want to score goals, but not at the expense of fire wagon hockey, right? So it's, check well, check as a group, be connected to get pucks back so that we can get going the other way and use our skill, because there's a lot of skill up and down the lineup. So that we want to make sure we take advantage of that, and players know that. But teams don't just give you the puck, especially the more you go into the better hockey clubs, into the playoffs. It gets a little more difficult, so you have to have those habits built in. So those are things we're going to try to do immediately to make sure that they're ingrained, and as the year goes on, it becomes automatic.
Danny and Jesse.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Bruce, you kind of touched on it, but when you kind of look at this team from afar, how do you kind of evaluate, when you look at it last year or the last couple of years, what works and what doesn't work, and how long does it take for you to kind of put your own spin on what you want this team to look like?
Yeah, that's still a work in progress. I mean, obviously we see Vegas twice a year. They came into Boston this year, and we weren't very good, but they were excellent. So was it, how was it? But that's when I saw a team that could, I think health has been discussed a lot with the team. I can't remember exactly who was in and out, but they looked like you know, like a great hockey club playing good hockey. We came back in here late in the year. I can't speak to how Vegas played. I know we'd found our game, so we looked a lot better. But what I see from Vegas is a lot of guys that can finish. I see guys that have been through some playoff series that know what it takes to get there. I've seen Alex and Petro win a Stanley Cup, so they are guys with experience. I saw Petro a little too closely, to be quite honest with you. But so they have guys that have been there and done it. And there's guys that are still learning the process. Jack Eichel, you know, he's a guy that, you know, that's a high-end hockey player that is still learning how to win and play the right way, so to speak. So again, I'm not going to go through all the aspects of the Golden Knights, because I think I want to see it now that I'm a Golden Knight to speak as a Bruin. I don't think that's fair to the players in the room or previous coaches. All of that. That's disrespectful. But what I see right now is a team that definitely went. You know, health obviously matters to every team, that is strong at every position, and we got to make sure we get them to play to their strength.
Go to Ben, and then back to Kevin and Chris. Oh, yeah, to Ben.
Goats, Las Vegas Regional. Bruce, you mentioned this came together fairly quickly. Was there ever a doubt in your mind that you wanted to coach again this year? And then you also mentioned, you know, you started talking daily with the Knights. How quickly did these conversations start?
No, I you know, when I got the news, people reflect obviously, but I wanted to go right back to work. I think I'm a young guy. I love coaching. So that was a conversation I had with Julie very quickly. You know, hey, it's got to be the right fit for me, right fit for the team. Okay, so that's an obvious, but no, I was going to try to pursue opportunities right away. And then, as I told some people, I just got tired of being out of work, so here we are. It was like someone said that to me. I was like, that's a good one. I'm going to use that. So, Ben, I'm using it on you.
We'll get Jesse on our way back to Kevin.
Jesse Granger with The Athletic. For both of you, where are you in terms of putting the rest of the staff together? Are there any names that you already have in mind, and how quickly do you expect that to happen?
That's the next order of business. You know, a lot has gone on in a short period of time with respect to Bruce's hiring. We met last night, threw a little bit of that around, had some discussions. We're going to work on that again today. Bruce has some names. I have some names. We'll begin on that here shortly.
Yeah, to echo that, we're going to huddle up and go from there, and we'll make it work.
Bruce, Kevin Bollinger, Fox 5 Las Vegas. You worked for George McPhee 20 years ago. Obviously, that did not end well. Was there any trepidation for working for him again? And how are you a better coach now than you were back in the early 2000s?
Yeah, no, I told George I'm going to get it right this time. I've had a lot of experience between now and then, and I don't want to revisit all of that, but I've always respected George. He gave me my first head coaching job in the National Hockey League, so, I mean, I'll never forget that. We've continued our relationship over the years when we've run into each other, and I think it's always been cordial, always been respectful. So that's where I'm at with George. I did not know Kelly, and now we've had a lot of interaction. I think we're like-minded thinkers. We talk hockey already a lot, so I'm looking forward to it. Again, can't say enough good things about George. A lot of respect for what he's done throughout the National Hockey League, and specifically here in Vegas. So, like I said, very excited about it. I don't know if I answered the second part of your question.
How are you a better coach now
Oh.
than you were 20 years ago when you got your first shot?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you're in this business for that long, you should become better, or you're not going to move on, right? You use your eyes and ears to your advantage. A little more comfortable in my own skin, walking into a dressing room with elite hockey players. When I walked into Washington, I didn't have an NHL career as a player. It was my first NHL job, so there's a little bit of that sort of getting to know, whether it's awe or intimidation, some of the guys, or uncertainty. And, you know, I was confident, but there's still those factors. Now, being in a dressing room with some future Hall of Famers and Char and Bergeron and who knows how many others, there's just more of that comfort factor and being through the league and understanding what it takes to win, right? We've lived it a little bit. I have now in Boston. I think I have a pretty good handle on it. We're always going to grow and get better, have to get better as coaches, but that would be the difference from 20 years ago.
If I could just add, Bruce's path was intriguing for us when we look at him as a candidate, and you know, to go from being an NHL head coach, he went back to the Ontario Hockey League, coached junior hockey. First job back in pro, if I remember it correctly, was an assistant coach in the American Hockey League. So For me, that's paying your dues, getting better every day, and turning yourself into a real elite coach. Where, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to persevere and find their way through that.
Bruce, Chris Matthews with the CBS affiliate here in Las Vegas. Can I ask you about that fine line between kind of a gut feeling and analytics? I know you once referred to the analytics as nerd guys, but
Oh boy, is that
but you
going to
need
follow
both,
me around
don't you?
all the way to Vegas?
But I mean, isn't there a fine line between the gut feeling and going off of analytics?
Yeah,
And
I think.
how do you approach that?
I think I value analytics. There's good data there. How you use it's probably the biggest point of discussion with your staff or with management. I don't get into analytics with players. I think that's not my approach. I'll use it to see pockets of part of your season. If you get enough data, say a 10-game segment, and you see something in these analytics where your team is trending the wrong way or the right way, that's when I use it. Okay, we got to correct this. This isn't, my eyes are seeing this, but this is really backing it up. So I think it's a little bit to prove what you're seeing, or in some cases maybe disprove what you're seeing. So that's how I look at analytics. I think they can tell you about your hockey club, but it doesn't tell the whole story because there's going to be certain, as I told the nerds, so to speak, these columns they keep creating. Your style of play will dictate sometimes that might not look good in analytics, but it's still effective on the ice. Because I don't think any team's going to dominate every area of analytics. It's just style of play will lend itself to some fluctuation in that. And as long as your style of play kind of matches up with what the analytics are telling you, then that's where I go with it. And then if management has points on line structure, how they're producing as a line, then obviously you have to value that and look at it. And then you go to the line, it's like, well, I really don't mesh with that guy. You're talking to the players. Well, the analytics say differently. So, and then you got to sort through it there. Well, what do you go with? And that's where you get paid to make the right calls in those.
If I can just follow up also with you've probably been to Vegas, 12 times because you meet with them, or 6 times? You come here
once a year, yeah. No, the what do you call it, bubble we missed, and trust me, our players were upset. They like to come here. So. They know us. When the schedule comes out, there's a few places they're looking for. So anyway.
They circle Vegas?
Yeah.
What are your impressions when you rolled into Vegas and you've seen the atmosphere and the feelings and the vibe of Vegas? And
well, the first thing you land, you're on the Strip, right? So. For a kid from Canada that, didn't really spend much time here, that, you see the people and everything, bright lights and all that's going on. And then you walk I like to walk to the hotel we're at, walk to the rink, and I wouldn't call it like tailgating specifically, but there's stuff going on outside the arena, so you can see that the fans are into it, the electric sort of atmosphere. And then once you get in the first couple times, the pregame show, we're all watching it, and I just tell it's quite a vibe in here. Now, what I'm starting to experience is get away from get outside of that, get out here, and now you're seeing a different part of, truly probably the communities, et cetera, outside of that strip, and that's real appealing to me. Like I said, I have a young family, and you want to be part of a community, and so that's the part I'm going to get to know even more in the next couple of days that really excites us.
Jesse Merrick, NBC Vegas. Kelly, what do you think fans will see, from this coaching staff that's maybe different than what they've seen some previous staffs over the years?
Well, I think the fans watch the games and see what they see on the ice. That's what they care about. I don't know that they come to watch the coaching staff. I think they're going to be really impressed with how Bruce's teams play. We think the makeup of our roster lines up with Bruce's strengths. We think that, as I touched on the last time I did media, that we're going to be a really hungry team in the fall with something to prove. And the question earlier about the identity, I know that was talked about by our players at the end of the year. I know it was talked about by Pete, myself. The identity hasn't vanished. We had a year where it wasn't what it had been the previous 4 years. It's not going to be hard for us to get back to that, for Bruce to put his stamp on that. I think you'll see that happen very quickly. And we've got the best fans in the league. They love an up-tempo game. They love an attacking team. They love physical play, scoring chances, all the things that you want to see your team do.
Willie Ramirez with the Associated Press. Kelly, you guys talked about the staff and now working on that. With respect to the becoming salary cap compliant, now that you have a coach in place, do you start with looking at what Bruce's style of coaching, these guys will fit, who might be expendable, or do you start with crunching numbers first, and will he be a part of that?
Completely independent challenges. The coaching, the staff, that's all independent of the the makeup of your roster. Your salary cap. It would be unrelated. To overlap those two ideas.
Hey, Kelly, you talked about at your last press conference like a new, fresh voice. Bruce just said you haven't known each other that long between the both of you, but what do you suspect that voice will be given what you know about Bruce now, and what do you want it to be?
Well, I feel more excitement for the coming season, and it was one of the things that I did talk about. We had certain things that happened. Our team missed the playoffs. We talked about the importance of some of our players recharging. Some of the injuries that had carried through the season, needing some time, some surgeries that took place, and just I believe I touched on it when I spoke about it. It felt like a new voice, the right new voice, might add to all of that, and that's. I guess a month later, here we are. Feel very strongly that that's exactly what has happened and what is going to happen, and that was our objective going into this process, that we would come out of it feeling like we do about our new coach here today.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. Bruce, you mentioned your former captain, Patrice Bergeron. Now you come here to a situation where your captain here, Mark Stone, kind of a similar player, Selke finalist. Just how excited are you to work with Mark and kind of see the similarities between him and Patrice?
Yeah, I mean, I saw him in Ottawa up close. I know what he's capable of. Had an opportunity to talk with him briefly about, where he saw the team and sort of a little back and forth on that. So he's very dialed in, going to be healthy and ready to go. I think that was one of his main focuses as well, so he can give his best and put his best foot forward and be the voice in the locker room. Sometimes when you're injured, it's a little more difficult, right? You're just sort of looking after yourself. So I think that's important to him as well. And like I said, we want to be a good two-way hockey. I think those are when you can play 200-foot game and be a threat on offense and be responsible defensively, and that's up and down your lineup. Those are the best hockey clubs. And Mark fits that category. And if he can instill that mentality that we're going to attack when it's time to attack, and we're going to work hard to get the puck back so we can get back on the attack. When you have a leader sort of saying the same voice as the coach, I think that's when things run really smoothly. So I'm going to have to earn the players' trust, including Mark in that area. That'll be step one for any coach, and specifically for me, being new to the hockey club. So again, I'm looking forward to the challenge, and I think he just wants to get back playing. It sounds like Mark's he's just a hockey player, and he wants to play hockey, and that's where his mindset is right now. Once September rolls around, hopefully he's in that position, and we're up and running. Because I think he'll pull the players along from what I've seen him play on, how he's played on the ice.
Ken Bolke, Sinman, Not Vegas for Bruce. You're now the team's third coach in 6 years. I'm wondering if that kind of how quickly they've gone through coaches has played any impact or role in deciding to come to Vegas, and then if you can comment on how long your contract is here.
Contract will be in-house. We'll keep it in-house. I was, like any coach, trying to get some security. I will tell you, I'm exceptionally pleased with what my contract. There's no issue there. And as for the other coaches, Turk and Pete, I've got to know them a little bit over the years. Two excellent coaches doing good jobs in the league, but I thought I did a good job in Boston too, and here I am. So it's part of the business. So no, that did not factor into it at all. I think what factored into it is discussions with Kelly on a daily basis. Where's the direction of the team? What are you looking for? And then I've sorted through, well, is this a good fit for me? And I said, my family as well. That's it. That's the only things that factored in. I want my name in the Stanley Cup. That was the conversation, and I believe this team has the ability to do that. And if I can take care of business, then, then if they make a decision, then that's entirely up to the organization. But to me, if we can take care of business, everything will fall into place. And And that's where mine's at. I'm a coach. That's what I got to do. That's what I get paid for. That's what I'm responsible for. So that's my thought process.
Chris Chapman, Fox Sports Las Vegas. You kind of answered it a little bit there in that last answer, but I think you were out of work maybe 6 days. So when you surveyed the landscape, what was it that really stuck out about maybe this organization, this city, this franchise, maybe the ownership, that really made you say, this is where I want to be and this is the ideal fit for me?
All of it. All of what you just said. You can see as a member of the NHL what Vegas did to come in and how much success they've had and how the fan base is behind them immediately and how everything's first class. You don't have to be here to know that. You hear the people talk throughout the National Hockey League. So that's already in place. Solid ownership. Management team, I knew George, like I said. Kelly's had a lot of success, so there's no issues there. A roster of players, as I said, that some of them have been through the grind of the playoffs. Some have finished on top of the mountain. So it was all in place, to be honest. There was, just seemed like the question was the health of the hockey club last year. How is that going to affect the team going forward? I guess would be the only thing, and it sounds like everyone's getting taken care of, and knock on wood. I mean, that's just part of every team goes through that. So other than that, there was really not a lot to say, hey, not sure on this, not sure on that. Let's get them healthy and get playing, because I truly believe there's a lot of excellent hockey players. It's up to me. My job is to get the best out of them and get them to play as a team and achieve as a team. So that's how I looked at it.
Hi, Bruce. Nice to meet you. Lindsey Brown from 1140 The Bet. Happy to have you here in Vegas. Something I really respected and admired about your time in Boston was the way that your players addressed the Kyle Beach interview with Rick Westhead. The players decided to watch that interview as a team. As a head coach, what is your role in fostering team culture like that?
Yeah, I thought that was very important. I went to Bergie, and I thought it would be a good idea that it was very relevant in hockey right now. We've got some young players in the room. And as a group, I said, we don't have to be in the room as coaches or management. Would you like to do it by yourself as a group? And they wanted to do it by themselves. So I respected that. I had already watched the interview. I remember we were in Carolina when the news broke. And listen, they're people first, the players. And some of them are young, and it's a difficult business. You're young. You want to please the coaches. You want to please your teammates, etc. So for those guys, we got to take care of them, do a better job of that. And I think that was certainly a lot of credit to Kyle, a lot of courage for him to come out and share his story. And it's up to the rest of the league to learn from it. So I thought it was a great moment for our group. Can bring a team together, and I can't speak for them, but I thought it did.
Ben Goetz, Las Vegas Regional. Bruce, Kelly's talked about, wanting a hungry team, a team that's out to prove something coming into next year. Do you feel you fit into that? Do you feel you're coming into this job with something to prove?
I do. I got let go. So, I want to, this is not some sort of revenge tour or anything like that. It's just I want to prove to myself, more importantly, that I'm capable of doing the job and winning in the postseason. So, yeah, there's a little bit of that. It's not going to consume me every day, Ben, by any means. I think when you come close to winning the cup, it's always in the back of your mind, and you want to finish the job. And I definitely have that mindset, but that's where I'm at.
Any final questions? Justin?
I know it's very early, and you haven't even put the staff together, but I'm just curious, how similar do you think the systems will be from Boston to Vegas? After looking at this lineup, do you think it's gonna be a similar brand of hockey, or do you think you have to kind of change things and mold it to what you have here?
No, I would like to bring the stuff that worked well and the stuff that didn't, and we'll sort through. I've talked to Kelly about that, and once the staff is together, we'll sort through that. I got to make the final call on that, but my beliefs, I think, are you need to have accountability in the group, and you need to defend well, and you need to value the possession of the puck. So I think those go everywhere. You have to have team toughness. You got to play for one another. Now, how the systems fit in that, yes, personnel will drive some of that. Now, there's usually a negotiation at some point where this is what I think works. Okay, this is the way I play, and we've got to find common ground and get them to adhere to those 4 or 5 things we just talked about. So I think our defensive system was excellent in Boston, worked very well. I think we needed to score more goals at times, so we're always trying to tweak that, and I think that's not unique to my previous team. It's everywhere. And special teams, I thought, were very good. I think that's personnel-driven a lot of times as well. Players have to execute, but as I said, they were good, and we're going to try to implement some of the same things we did and see how the players react to it. And like I said, everything will be fluid from there.
Ben and Chris.
Ben goes Las Vegas Regional. Kelly, if I could ask you for a couple injury updates. I know you said last time that you know about a month after Robin Leonard's surgery, a firmer idea of his timeline, so it's been about
Met with our medical people here yesterday. Everybody that's had off-season surgery rehabs are going fine. Keegan Colasar had an off-season surgery that I don't think maybe he'd even had when we met last time, but rehabbing fine in his situation. And then the others we've already talked about. So, yeah, again, to some of the things we talked about earlier, this off-season is 2 months longer than we wish it was, but we're going to use that to prepare our team for the coming season.
Go back to Chris and then one Jesse.
Bruce, I just wondered, coming out here now west and Josh McDaniels and that Patriots staff, I don't know what the seasons of your paths crossed much, but Belichick and McDaniel, any stories, did they call you, congratulate you? Are you excited to be out here with the other Patriots, now Raiders?
You know, I developed a relationship with Bill over the years. I like him a lot. He's been good for me. He's got a job to do. I've got a job to do. So, we're not interacting. But, the family would go to, the OTAs or the summer camps. And, we'd go to the odd game throughout the year. I wouldn't see Bill, but the Kraft family. So a lot of respect for Bill and Josh. They did great things in New England. Obviously, hopefully Josh can do that out here. I'm going to have to convince Cole that he's going to have to, get on board with the black and silver here and not the Pats. That'll be a challenge because, hey, he's a New England kid, right? So he's, I'll tell him you can have the Red Sox, but you got to give up the Pats, right? How's that? So, but like I said, I like Bill a lot. Tremendous amount of success. We'll still communicate going forward. Hopefully, I get to know Josh because I thought in Boston to build off that, the coaches had a great relationship. They had the Jimmy Fund telethon there where we'd all get together. Alex Cora, Brad Stevens, now Ime. So I thought it was good. And it was good for competition. I think we all pushed each other in that market to be the top dog. So we're still chasing. Well, I mean, everyone's still chasing Bill there, but closing ground, obviously, the Celtics are right there. So that was a nice way to get better as well. You're talking to a lot of bright sports minds, so I think it was all positive interacting with the coaches there, especially Bill.
So I got one for both you guys. For Kelly, you noted there's many areas that he's had success over his career, but how important was the special teams aspect of the area that he's had success in for you? And then for Bruce, specifically on the power play, what are some things that you think are characteristics of a strong unit in that sense?
Yeah, and I'll speak to that. I really, can't stress enough the importance of special teams, and I know that it's been a challenge here at different times in the past. Bruce has done it again and again and again. I guess that's what, to me, is impressive. I think there's different teams and different coaches that, with the right personnel in the right year, you have a real good power play or a real good penalty kill, or maybe one's better than the other significantly. You see teams sometimes like that. And I think in Bruce's case, the penalty kill and the power play consistently have been very, very good for a long period of time. So that is really important to us. It's part of that decision-making process that we had in terms of what we think Bruce's strengths are and what can translate to our team. So certainly was talked about a lot.
Yeah, from my end, I've always believed typically you're seeing at least four forwards and a defenseman on the power play. So I've always felt that the majority of the plays should go through those four forwards. So they're just typically more comfortable around the net. They want the puck around the net. They're high-end guys that need the puck around the net. That's drives a lot of their offense that can spill into 5-on-5. So that's the first thing we've always tried to do is run our. I mean, every power play has options, so we want our options to be closer to the net, as close to the net as possible. So we'll make sure we build in those, depending on sticks, strengths. Obviously, I had a left stick on the half wall. Jack Eichel's a right stick. It's going to be a big part. So you have to start with where the pieces fit, and then and I think from there you have to be, a little. You can't be predictable every time. You have to know what you have, go through your sets, and be ready to adjust if they don't work and move things around a little bit. So a lot of that is what is the skill set of the players, and a lot of that is practice. I believe in practicing power play as much as possible with pressure. So that's how I've tried to do it over the years. There's entries, there's face-offs, there's other things, but as you can tell, I like the power play, so me and you could chat here for half an hour. I'm not sure these guys are going to like it, but at the end of the day, that's our mindset a little bit. Attack mode, but from lower parts of the ice. So you have to make sure your D's on board. If if it's used to running through Petrangelo or Theodore, they have to make sure they're facilitators as well, and maybe not as much of a shooter. So those are all things that you go through. I think our preparation has been excellent. I take pride in watching other teams' PKs so that you can switch from your option from A to B to C quickly in the game, and that's something I've always believed in. I wasn't a great hockey player by any means, but the one strength I had is I could see the ice, and I was a decent power play guy. So for me, it's always been something I've just gravitated towards. And lastly, you're dealing with a lot of high-end players on a daily basis. I think that's important for the head coach to connect with those guys as well and share ideas, so you can build some trust in them. So anyway, to tell you exactly what our power play is going to look like until we get on the ice and we get our roster finalized, I have a pretty good idea that these concepts will work, but until we get on there, and if they don't, we'll adjust. We'll make sure the players are comfortable, and that's just how it's going to work. But it's preparation, it's repetition, and it's execution. The players, you have to have players that can make plays as well. So you can draw up whatever you want, but so that's how we're going to attack it.
Kelly, Bruce, thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for coming out today. We appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate your coverage.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys.
You've been watching Breaking News from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.